On a humid summer night in 1949, a small Appalachian town in eastern Kentucky was about to wake to a horror it had never known. The tight-knit community, where front doors were often left unlocked and neighbors greeted each other by name, would soon be paralyzed by fear and suspicion. What started as a fun night with friends quickly unraveled into a mystery that would haunt generations. This wasn't a random act of violence in a distant city. This was a brutal crime that struck at the very center of the community. And for more than 7 decades, the question has lingered: who did it and why? This is the story of Muriel Baldridge. Hello friends, my name is Marcia, and this is Midwest Murders. In 1949, Prestonsburg was a small, tightly woven town in the heart of Floyd County, nestled deep within the Appalachian Mountains. Like many coal towns across eastern Kentucky, life here was shaped by hard work, strong traditions, and a deep sense of community. Generations of families had lived along these ridges and hollers where the coal industry was both a lifeline and a burden, fueling the local economy while also keeping the region tied to poverty and labor struggles. The late 1940s marked a period of cautious optimism. World War II had ended just a few years earlier, and the young men were returning home, trying to find their place again in communities that had learned to survive without them. New music crackled from radios, big band, early country, and downtown Prestonsburg had a movie theater, a drugstore, soda fountain, and a main street where kids gathered and adults swapped news over cigarettes and coffee. Still, this was a conservative town, shaped by religion, family ties, and unspoken social boundaries. Reputation mattered. Women were expected to be modest and obedient, and teenagers, especially girls, lived under close watch. In a place where everyone knew each other's names, and secrets were hard to keep, the idea that someone could be brutally attacked and murdered just a few feet from safety was not only horrifying, it was deeply personal. It shattered the illusion that violence belonged to other towns, other people, and other lives. Muriel Baldridge was just 17 years old. Her father, George, worked for the C&O Railroad, one of the lucky few who found work outside the coal mines. They lived in a small home near the railroad tracks just across the West Prestonsburg Bridge that spanned the Lavisa Fork of the Big Sandy River. At about 9 p.m. on June 27, 1949, Merl left home, telling her family she was headed to a church meeting. Instead, she met up with 3 girlfriends and they went to the local carnival. They didn't stay long, and she was last seen around 10 p.m. when they separated at the bridge, a few yards from the Baldridge house. Even though she did not return home that night, her parents did not report her missing. This would not have been unusual for the times. Prestonsburg was considered a safe place, and telephones were not common. I suspect her parents believed she had decided to stay the night with a friend. At 6 a.m. the following morning, her body was discovered by Don Pitts, a food company employee who was in a truck with his brother driving to work. He had spotted her on the bank of Middle Creek, near where it flows into the Lavisa Fork at the West Prestonsburg Bridge. There were signs of a struggle. It indicated she was grabbed on the bridge and dragged down the steep embankment. Grady Shepard, Floyd County coroner, reported that Merl had 5 fractures to her skull, made by a tire tool or brick, along with 2 long wounds on the side of her head, consistent with the butt of a .45 caliber pistol. Police theorized that her assailant was apparently going to throw her into the water, but failed due to piles of debris that were washed up on the bank. She had been left about 10 feet from the river. Men's footprints, size 8.5 or 9, led from the scene, and whiskey bottles were strewn about. The area where she was found was known to be a hangout for those who liked to drink in the otherwise dry county. Betty Lou Tackett, who lived across the bridge with her stepfather James Dotson, said she heard screams on the night Merl was killed. She and girlfriend Sue Goebel looked out the window in the direction of the screams and saw a man go up the path from the riverbank toward the bridge and start walking very fast across the bridge. He appeared to be wearing a yellow sports shirt. A reward of $1,146 was offered, just over $11,000 in today's money. Police arrested several individuals in connection to the case. Minor Caldwell Taylor, age 35, an inmate in the Indiana State Prison, serving a 1 to 10-year sentence for stealing a government check, confessed to the killing, as did William Gamble, a carnival worker who later claimed his confession was coerced. Several more confessions would be offered, but ultimately all were discounted. All of these suspects were eventually cleared and released. Police then focused their attention on Lon Moles, age 60, who was a member of the Prestonsburg School Board. His accomplice was said to be 45-year-old E.K. Dotson, a Prestonsburg restaurant owner. Moles worked just across the railroad tracks from the Baldridge home, and Dotson's restaurant was located 75 feet away. The trial was moved to adjoining Pike County, and the evidence presented to the jury was largely circumstantial. It was rumored that Moles had a particular affection for Merl and would watch her from his office. At the time, Floyd County was a dry county, meaning that alcohol could not be sold or consumed. Moles was a known drinker, and Julia May Godsey, the wife of a local bootlegger, testified that she had sold whiskey to Moles that evening. She testified that he was dressed in a yellow sports shirt, and when she turned on the light to make change for the $20 bill he gave her, she saw blood on his shirt. A whiskey bottle of the brand he bought that evening was found at the murder scene. Melvin H. Goebel, a service station attendant at Prestonsburg, testified that he removed the seat covers from Moles's car the day after the murder. There was a big spot on the back seat which appeared to have been cleaned. He did not put new seat covers on, but instead covered the front seat with a sheet that he found in the car. Moles disputed this, saying he did have the seat covers changed, but it was prior to the murder. Bob Shepard, a teacher at Prestonsburg High School, testified he picked Moles up the afternoon following the murder, and Moles had bruises and scratches on his arm and a cut over one eye. The only connection the prosecution could make between Moles and Dotson was that Moles frequented the Dotson restaurant. The only connection Dotson had to Merl was that the Baldridge family would cut across a path used as a shortcut from the bridge to their home, which crossed property owned by his father. Ultimately, Moles was found not guilty, and all charges against Dotson were dismissed. In 1982, 33 years after the killing, 48-year-old Frederick Sloan confessed and was arrested, but charges were ultimately dismissed because of lack of evidence. More than 3,500 people attended Merle's funeral, held at Irene Cole Memorial Baptist Church. She was laid to rest in the Reuben Allen Cemetery in Floyd County, Kentucky. Through the years, the evidence in this case has been destroyed. The clothing Merle was wearing that night was returned to the family shortly after her death. Author Michael Crisp has taken a deep dive into this case. I have linked his book in the description below. In the weeks that followed Merle's murder, rumors spread like wildfire. Suspects were questioned, theories floated, and the town's trust began to fray. But to this day, no one's been held accountable. Time may pass, buildings may crumble, and memories may fade, but one truth remains. This town never forgot what happened on that summer night in 1949. If you have any thoughts or theories about this case, please leave them in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and may the truth reveal itself in the shadows.